Stacey Lee.
Well, we've been talking about the proposed changes to superannuation, the unrealised capital gains tax and the non-indexation of the $3 million figure all week. And I know it has so many of you concerned. It also has one South Australian senator extremely concerned. Leah Blyth is a Liberal senator for South Australia and she joins you now. Good afternoon, Leah Blyth. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, Stacey, and thanks for having me on.
It's unrealised gains, but there's no indication that there'll be unrealised losses in future years, so you won't really get a refund on the money you've paid.
Absolutely not. And, this people that work hard, you have savings, you have investments, you might have assets, whatever that might be, and, in this case, it's even super. So, what are you going to have to do? Is it going to put people in a position where they will have to sell off assets to be able to pay their tax liability? And, what message does that send? So I think it is a really reckless and regressive policy, and I'm certainly calling on the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, to really get his hands out of Australians' pockets.
The other issue that's been a concern for so many people is the fact that it's not indexed. They're saying it won't affect too many people now, only those with a super balance of over $3 million, which is largely just the extremely wealthy section of the country. But in a few years' time, if you're in your 20s now, and based on inflation and income projections, most people who are in their 20s now who are working full-time will have more than $3 million in their super. So in not too long, it could affect a whole generation of people. Does that worry you?
I think that is absolutely spot on. So young people that are trying to get ahead, we've seen the difficulties that they have getting into the housing market. Really the only place that they are able to sort of put money when they're working is into super. And I think that is a very, very valid point because, yes, today it might be, as Anthony Albanese has described it, for the wealthy few. Tomorrow it's just going to be everyday Australian. Because we would expect to see those super balances, $3 million in, you're absolutely right, 20 years' time is not the same as $3 million today.
No.
And that's what's really concerning about it. So this is absolutely a fundamental change to, hit Australians, hardworking Australians where it hurts. And I'm sort of sitting here thinking this is not okay. This is going to stifle aspiration. It will certainly stifle innovation, and I think for us it'll stifle growth within our economy because there is going to be no incentive to be putting money into super if you think you are going to be taxed on unrealised gains on that in future.
And if you're a wealthy Australian with, lots of money in your super and you're going to be burdened for that, then from the experts and the accountants that I've been talking to this week about it, they're suggesting that those people are taking their money out of super and investing it in property, which is making the property market even harder for young people to get into. So there's this flow-on effect everywhere.
It certainly does. And you can't blame people for moving things around. When the tax system, so we're changing the rules, or Anthony Albanese is proposing changing the rules. People will need to shift so that they aren't paying tax on unrealised gains. So it is going to have a flow-on effect into all sorts of parts of our economy, and that will include even investment in business. So if you've got to start paying unrealised gains on, and I look at it even rural and regional agricultural property, where does this end? So if you've got a farm which will go up in capital value, but at the moment, and South Australian farmers here are doing it tough in drought conditions. And how on earth, when you've got bad crops, your stock, you've got no feed for them, but the price of your farm goes up, how on earth do you pay the unrealised capital gains on that without selling your farm?
Absolutely. Lots of our listeners, as I say, are concerned about this policy. They've also been expressing to me this week how disappointed they are it didn't become an election issue and the coalition didn't make it an election issue or bring it up much at all throughout the campaign. Why is it Why is now the time to talk about it? And do you wish that maybe there was a bigger deal made of this a few weeks ago during the campaign? I think it would have drummed up a bit of support, and it would have made people understand the implications of this maybe a bit sooner.
I think there are a lot of things on the campaign that certainly for me as a Liberal senator, I wish had been done differently, and hindsight's always very powerful. But absolutely, I think this is really important. We need effective oppositions to be out talking about what government proposes, and unless an opposition is going to be strong, then we end up with this kind of creep coming in where, really it is Labor have the numbers now and they can push these things through if they want to. And that's a scary thought for the Australian people, I think.
Speaking of effective oppositions, what do you hope happens with the future of the coalition? Do you think the Libs and the Nats are stronger together?
I absolutely do, Stacey. I am a coalitionist at heart, and I would very much like to see a strong coalition and a very, very strong opposition to the Anthony Albanese Labor government. I think that's in the best interest of all Australians, whether you are, a coalition supporter or a Labor supporter or Greens. I think we must have in our Westminster system strong opposition to hold government to account, no matter what flavour that government is.
The last couple of days have been a bit all over the place. Yesterday we were trying to work out what it is. Is this like a couple getting a divorce and now they've agreed to just a trial separation? Is it friends with benefits? There seems to be some mistrust on either side, and there was a bit of backgrounding going on. Do you think that the two parties can sort that out quick enough and get back together sooner rather than later? Or do you think this is a bit more of a long-term marriage counselling situation for the next couple of years?
I like those analogies, Stacey.
we were trying to work out, is it like a Ross and Rachel from Friends break, or what are we calling this?
I was going to say, and that's we were on a break.
Yeah.
Look, I think for me, the Australian people have sent us a very, very strong and loud message. And I think the longer that we spend looking inwardly and talking between ourselves is less time that we're spending focusing on what the Australian people need. So from my perspective, that's what my focus is now getting back, doing what I can for South Australia and advocating for the South Australian people. And I very much look forward to this sort of being behind us and that we get back to doing, what we're elected to do, which is to represent our communities. And I think the sooner we start doing that, the better we're all going to be.
Leah Blyth, appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacey.
Liberal Senator for South Australia there.